Have you ever sat quietly, maybe with a cup of tea in your hand, and wondered, what's their secret? You know, those rare souls who make it past 100, still smiling, still curious, still grateful for each sunrise. They've seen wars and weddings, heartbreak and healing, and yet, somehow, they glow. Their laughter is softer but stronger, their eyes hold a peace that only comes from truly living. I've always been fascinated by that, not just how long they live, but how well. Because let's face it, nobody really wants to just get older. We want to stay alive, to keep that spark that makes every day worth waking up for. So, when I started listening to centenarians, men and women who've reached 100, 101, even 107, I expected to hear about miracle diets or secret exercises. Maybe some fancy supplement or a strict rule about early bedtimes. But what I discovered was far simpler and far more powerful. These remarkable people share something that money, medicine, or luck can't buy. It's a mindset, a way of seeing life that keeps the heart young even as the body grows older. And the more I listened, the clearer it became, we can all live this way, starting right now. So, pour yourself that cup of tea, settle in, and let's talk about what the world's oldest, happiest people know that most of us forget. The first thing they all seem to share, and they'll tell you this with a smile, is that they don't waste time worrying about what they can't control. I spoke with a 102-year-old woman named Helen. She's lived through the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and more changes than most of us could imagine. When I asked her what keeps her going, she chuckled and said, "Darling, if I worried every time the world went crazy, I wouldn't have made it past 40. She told me something I'll never forget. Every morning, I ask myself, what can I do today, right now, that makes me feel alive? That's all. The rest, I let go." Think about that for a moment. How much of our energy, even at this age, gets spent on things we can't change, what people said, what might happen, what used to be? But Helen, and so many others like her, choose differently. They've learned to save their strength for the moments that matter, for laughter, for connection, for the present moment. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's giving yourself permission to rest, to breathe. And funny enough, that calm, that acceptance, it's what helps them live longer, not stress less by accident, but by choice. Now, the second thing I noticed, and this one really made me smile, is that centenarians stay curious. They never stop learning, even when the world tries to tell them they've seen it all. There's a man named George, 104 years old, who still takes online art classes. He paints with shaky hands, but his eyes light up when he talks about color and form. "I'm still learning to see," he says. "And as long as I'm learning, I'm still alive." Isn't that beautiful? So many people assume aging means slowing down, closing off, or staying in the past. But these 100-year-olds, they're the exact opposite. They laugh at technology but still use it. They might not dance like they used to, but they'll hum along to music. Their curiosity keeps them connected to life itself. There's something deeply youthful about curiosity. It keeps your brain sharp, your spirit awake, and your conversations interesting. Whether it's trying a new recipe, learning a few words in another language, or even asking your grandchild how that funny app works, curiosity keeps the doors of the mind open. Helen told me, the moment you stop learning, you start shrinking, not in size, but in soul. And I think she's right. When we stay curious, we stay present. Now, if there's one more lesson that ties these together, it's this: they all have a reason to get up in the morning. 100 years is a long time to wake up every day. And yet, the happiest centenarians always have something, or someone, to care about. For some, it's tending to a little garden. For others, it's feeding the neighborhood cats, or baking cookies for family visits. One man told me, "I wake up to water my plants. They depend on me, so I show up." It's not grand or dramatic. It's simple. But that's the point. Having a purpose doesn't mean running a business or climbing mountains. It means knowing that your presence matters. That your day has meaning, no matter how small it might seem. I once asked a woman named Elsie, who had just turned 100, how she found purpose when her friends and husband had all passed away. She smiled softly and said, "I decided to be someone's sunshine every day." That's enough reason to wake up. Isn't that something? Her words reminded me that purpose doesn't fade with age, it simply changes shape. It might not be raising children anymore or building a career. But maybe it's sharing your stories, calling a friend, saying something kind, or even just being grateful for another sunrise. The truth is, the happiest 100-year-olds don't focus on how many days they have left. They focus on how much life they can put into each day. And maybe that's the secret we've been missing all along. It's not about chasing youth, it's about choosing joy. Every moment we spend appreciating what's still here, our memories, our lessons, our laughter, we're adding more life to our years, not just years to our life. So if you've ever thought, "I wish I could feel young again," maybe the answer isn't to look back. Maybe it's to look closer at what's already here, in this moment, right now. Because the truth is, the people who live the longest aren't those who cling to the past. They're the ones who learn how to fall in love with the present, over and over again. If you're still watching and feel that these insights are meaningful, please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. You know, one thing that struck me as I talked with more of these remarkable centenarians is how peaceful they all seem. There's no rush in their voice, no bitterness, no need to prove anything. It's as if, somewhere along the way, they stopped fighting life and started dancing with it. That brings us to another powerful truth I kept hearing. Gratitude isn't something they practice, it's something they live. Now, I know gratitude has become a buzzword these days. Everyone talks about it. But when a 103-year-old man named Frank told me about gratitude, it wasn't some abstract idea. He said, "I thank life for what I have left, not mourn what I've lost." He wasn't saying it out of denial or forced optimism. He was saying it from a deep place of understanding. Frank lost his wife 40 years ago. Most of his friends are gone. His eyesight isn't what it used to be. But when I asked him how he stays happy, he smiled and said, "I have my morning coffee, my favorite chair, and the sound of the birds. That's enough to make it a good day." And you could feel it, he meant every word. See, that's something younger generations often miss. Happiness isn't found in getting more, it's found in noticing more. It's in being awake to the quiet, beautiful things that are already around us. I think as we get older, life naturally teaches us that. We've all faced moments where plans changed, people left, or health took a dip. But gratitude is what turns survival into serenity. It's what keeps the heart soft, even when the world feels hard. There's a woman named Maria, 101 years old, who told me she starts every morning with 3 thank yous, one for her body, one for her mind, and one for her soul. She said, "If I can move, think, and feel, I have everything I need to be happy." That stayed with me. It reminded me that gratitude doesn't need to be dramatic. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about saying, "This, right here, it's enough." And when we do that often enough, life starts to feel fuller, lighter, more meaningful. Now, as I continued listening to these centenarians, another lesson came up again and again, something that might surprise you. It's the way they deal with loss and change. Because let's be honest, living a long life means saying goodbye many times. To people, to old routines, even to parts of yourself. And yet, instead of letting grief harden them, they somehow let it deepen them. Elsie, who turned 104 last summer, told me, "Loss is the price of love. And I'd rather pay it 1,000 times than live without it." I sat there quietly after she said that. Because there's such profound wisdom in those few words. She wasn't minimizing her pain, she was honoring it. She understood that love and loss are intertwined, and that the sadness we feel is just another form of gratitude, gratitude for what was, gratitude for having known it at all. Many of these centenarians told me they cry when they need to. They don't bottle it up or pretend to be strong all the time. But when the tears pass, they smile and keep living. They don't let loss become their identity. They carry their memories like lanterns, lighting the path forward instead of looking back into the dark. That's not something you learn overnight. That kind of peace comes from decades of learning how to let life flow, to allow what's meant to come, and release what's meant to go. I think that's one of the biggest differences between just growing old and growing wise. People who live past 100 don't resist change, they adapt. They bend with the wind instead of breaking against it. One of them said to me, "The world has changed 1,000 times since I was born. But so have I." That's how I kept up. Isn't that incredible? They've seen everything, from black and white radios to smartphones, from horse-drawn wagons to electric cars. But instead of saying, "It's too much," they smile and say, "Isn't it amazing what humans can do?" There's a beautiful freedom in that attitude. Because when you accept change instead of fearing it, life feels lighter. You stop clinging to how things used to be, and you start exploring how things can be now. Even something as simple as learning to text a grandchild or using video calls, for them, that's not a chore. It's a bridge. It's connection. And connection, my friend, is something every centenarian talks about. In fact, it's the invisible thread tying all these stories together. When I asked them what really matters after a century of living, none of them said money or success or possessions. They said people. They talk about laughter over tea, hugs from great-grandchildren, neighbors who wave from across the street. It's not the big gestures, it's the small moments of kindness that keep their hearts open. One 100-year-old man named Arthur told me, "Every day, I try to make one person smile. That's my secret. The more smiles I collect, the younger I feel." And I believed him. Because you can see it, that joy that comes from giving, from belonging, from still mattering. You see, as humans, we never outgrow the need to be seen, to be loved, to feel useful. That doesn't change with age. If anything, it becomes more important. So, if you're watching this and maybe feeling a little lonely or forgotten, please remember this: your smile, your words, your kindness, they still matter deeply. There's someone out there whose day would brighten just by hearing from you. Reach out, even if it's just a short message or a phone call. Because every connection, no matter how small, adds warmth to your days and years to your life. Maybe that's what these 100-year-olds are really trying to tell us. Life isn't about how long the heart beats, but how deeply it connects. When you listen long enough to people who've lived for a century, you start to realize something beautiful. They don't talk about the years they had, they talk about the moments that had them. The moments that took their breath away. The laughter that made their ribs hurt. The quiet evenings that reminded them how precious life really is. You might expect someone at 100 to tell you the secret to longevity is about food, or exercise, or some miracle supplement. But surprisingly, most of them don't even mention those things first. They talk about joy. Pure, simple joy. A woman named Grace, who turned 102, told me, "Happiness is not something you find, it's something you choose, every day." She said that when she was younger, she used to wait for the right time to be happy. After the bills were paid, after the kids were grown, after the house was in order. But then she realized life doesn't wait for you to be ready, it just keeps moving. And if you don't stop to smile now, you might never get another chance. That idea, choosing joy, comes up again and again when you talk to people who've made it past 100. They've learned not to postpone happiness. They laugh easily, forgive quickly, and let go of grudges faster than most of us ever learned to. One man, Charlie, said something that stuck with me. He told me, "At my age, I don't have time to be angry. Every minute spent upset is a minute I'll never get back." Imagine if we all lived like that, with that kind of clarity. How much lighter would our hearts feel? Charlie said he used to carry anger like a heavy backpack, over old arguments, mistakes, things people said. But as he got older, he realized most of those memories didn't hurt him anymore, only the holding on did. So, he made a decision: every night before bed, he'd forgive at least one thing, even if it was small. The driver who cut him off, the memory that made him wince, even himself, for something he wished he'd done better. He said after a few weeks, he started sleeping better. His chest felt lighter. His laughter came easier. Forgiveness, he told me, is the cheapest medicine you'll ever find. It's remarkable how many centenarians echoed that same truth. They don't waste energy on resentment. They don't replay regrets. Instead, they choose peace, not because life was easy, but because they've learned the cost of carrying pain too long. And that brings us to another powerful lesson, the one that ties everything together. The secret to living a long, happy life isn't found in chasing youth. It's in embracing age. When I asked a 100-year-old woman named Lillian if she ever wished she could be young again, she laughed and said, "Why would I? I already did that part. I want to see how this story ends." That line gave me chills. It's such a beautiful way of seeing things. Instead of mourning what's behind her, she's curious about what's still ahead. That sense of curiosity, that spark, is something every long-living person I spoke to has in common. They wake up each day still wanting to learn, to see, to be surprised. Whether it's a new recipe, a book, a new neighbor's story, or even just watching how the clouds move, they find wonder in the smallest details. It's that childlike spirit that keeps them alive inside. One man said, "My body is old, but my heart still plays." Isn't that the key? We don't stop playing because we grow old because we stop playing. I remember a lovely 101-year-old woman named Edith who told me she still dances in her kitchen every morning while making breakfast. Her legs aren't as strong as they once were, and her hearing's not perfect, but when her favorite old jazz song comes on, she sways and sings along. She told me, "I don't dance because I'm happy. I'm happy because I dance." That line could be written on a wall somewhere. It's a reminder that joy doesn't always find us. Sometimes, we have to move toward it. Now, as we near the end of this journey through their wisdom, one final truth stands out, and it's perhaps the most important of all. Every 100-year-old I spoke with believes that life is meant to be shared. No one reaches 100 by doing it all alone. They find people, family, friends, even strangers, to laugh with, eat with, cry with. They nurture relationships the way a gardener tends a garden, patiently, lovingly, consistently. They don't expect perfection. They expect presence. Because at the end of a century, what matters most isn't how much you've achieved, it's how deeply you've connected. One of the oldest women I met, 107 years old, said something that still echoes in my heart. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I stayed alive because I kept loving." Simple. Profound. True. Maybe that's the secret we've all been searching for, not just the key to longevity, but to real, lasting joy. To love life as it is. To love people as they are. To love ourselves even when we fall short. When you start doing that, age stops being something to fear. It becomes something to celebrate. Because every wrinkle tells a story, every scar holds a lesson, and every sunrise is another chance to live with purpose. So if you're watching this right now, take a deep breath. Feel your heart beating. That's your proof that you still have more to experience, more to give, more to love. You don't need to be 100 to start living like one. You just need to remember what they've already learned, that joy is simple, forgiveness is freeing, and love is forever. So, smile more. Move your body. Call that old friend. Watch the sunset without looking at your phone. Dance a little, laugh often, and let your heart stay open. Because maybe, just maybe, that's what these incredible centenarians have been trying to teach us all along. That a long, happy life isn't about adding more years to your time. It's about adding more life to your years. And if you've made it this far, thank you for sharing this moment with me. You're part of a community that believes in growing wiser, not just older. So, if you enjoyed this message, Please give it a like, share your own story in the comments, and subscribe for more conversations that celebrate the beauty of life at every age. Here's to you, to your health, your peace, and your joy. May your next chapter be your brightest yet.